Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, we're still pulling some more chairs. We've got a great crowd here this morning. It's awesome. But we're going to get some more chairs out, but I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can get moving into our lovely panel this morning. I'm Katie. I'm the general manager at ADAC, and we are so happy to welcome you to day 3 of Design ADAC. You know, we always save the best for last on our third day. So as always, remember to grab this copy of the event guide. There are events going on all day today, and we want to make sure that you know where they all are and that we see all of your smiling faces there. Also, in this event guide, we have all of our social media handles for our speakers, our media partners, and our showrooms. So take lots of pictures this week and video and post everything to social media. Make sure you also tag us. Our handle is at ADAC Atlanta. Use the hashtag Design ADAC this week. We'll reshare everything and we'll show everyone how much fun we're having this week at Design ADAC. So make sure you take lots of photos this week for social media. But then tomorrow, we're going to release the names of the winners of each of the 3 categories. So be on the lookout for that exciting news tomorrow morning. I'm going to thank today our media partner, which is Veranda. They are a long-standing partner with us during Design ADAC Spring Market each year, and we're so grateful for them. And at that reception, we're going to do book signings with all 3 of our panelists on stage today, including Steele with the book of Veranda. So we can't wait to see you there. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Steele Marcoux with Veranda.
Thank you so much, Katie. I was just thinking how it wouldn't be spring if it weren't Design ADAC. So we're so glad to be here. Veranda does come every year. It's a really fun tradition, and having grown up in Atlanta, it's always a nice time to come back. I am so excited to have Ellie Cullman and Tom Kligerman here with me today. I'm going to go ahead and get the next slide. For this wonderful conversation, we're going to be talking about prosperity at home and really kind of defining what it means, how good design can help us live better and happier lives at home. Thank you both for coming to Atlanta. Both Tom and Ellie are based in New York City, so it's always a treat to welcome in our friends from New York down south. And Tom actually helped do the judging with me for Southeastern Designer of the Year, so thank you for that extra time commitment as well, and he'll be helping to present tonight. Without further ado, let's get started. Actually, I'm going to leave it on this slide for a second. Ellie, first, starting with you, tell me what prosperity at home means to you as a designer.
I think the most important part is that prosperity at home has nothing to do with money.
I love that answer. Hot take, write that down.
Prosperity is about feeling comfortable and at peace in your home. And we all need that so desperately in our lives with all that's going on in the world today, especially.
I love that you've brought up this notion that it really doesn't have anything to do with money. It's much bigger than that. Tom, how about for you? What does prosperity mean at home?
So I guess I would add, I agree with everything Ellie said. And to me, prosperity, another word might be riches. And the first thing I thought about, what I love about it is that our family comes back to, it's a way to keep your kids close.
Coming back.
So really prosperity to me is sort of love and the richness of family life and friends too.
I love that. That's so great. Yes, we're very lucky to have shared Tom's house in the latest issue of Veranda. We're also going to be talking about that in a few minutes, but it is a really beautiful house.
Thanks.
So Ellie, let's start with you on a topic that actually kind of relates to both of you, but you've both had the great opportunity in your careers to work for a client, say, over multiple generations, over multiple projects in various locations. Looking at this slide and the next few slides that follow, Ellie, this is a client of yours that you've done, is it 7?
7 homes. 7 homes.
Which is incredible.
Unfortunately, I think they're done.
Oh, no.
But luckily they have children, and we typically go on to do the children, obviously not to the same extent as the parents, but you kind of live with them as they grow up and they get more interested in more advanced forms of
well, and that's what they've grown up with, and so they sort of, that has helped inform and shape their taste as well, I'm sure. But what does home mean to this family, and how have you kind of helped express that for them in multiple places? Well, where are we looking at?
This is Palm Beach, which is not the first project we did for them, by any means, but a project, one of the few that hasn't gone to a second stage, because it's only about 7 years old, whatever. But what I love about their feeling about Prosperity at Home is when they celebrated their 40th anniversary, the husband, as a gift to the wife, gave her the most beautiful handmade book with photographs of all the projects that we'd done, things that he wrote about the houses, the children, and I. And it's something that she cherishes, I know. And for me, the relationship is so important to my sense of, what we do, which is to give people the pleasure of a home that encompasses all your memories, all your books, all your collections. And the home in Palm Beach was fun because we're addressing the Palm Beach aesthetic here. But also, every home has to have the signature of the client. And this woman has a really fun sense of humor. So when she said to me that she wanted a shag rug in her living room,
I love it.
I was like, are you kidding? I had that in my dorm room. Luckily, we found a silk shag rug, which makes it a little more elevated.
I love that.
But so this is their bedroom in Palm Beach, and it's wrapped in what I call a margarita green toile fabric.
I love that.
And nothing is cozier than having fabric on the walls in a bedroom or dining room, for example, which you use mostly at night. Anyway, that's Palm Beach. I could go on forever.
Yeah, how has your approach? Well, tell us where we are.
Okay, so this is Marion, Massachusetts, and our client inherited her mother's home, which had been in the family since the 1920s. It was incredibly derelict and had some very unsympathetic renovations. But so we took the idea of the home, it's called wide windows, because when the home was built in the 20s, there really wasn't any air conditioning, so they had very wide windows. But we basically gutted the house and started again. But it looks very much like the home that I call it your grandmother in a new dress.
I love it.
And that's what this is. And a lot of the furniture came from her grandmother.
That's incredible.
So that's the living room. It's got an amazing waterfront view. This is the kitchen. I'm just showing this because I think we've all gotten so tired of white kitchens.
I love this color.
And also of, wood kitchens, which sometimes just look a little dark. So this is a blue that our client loved. And I think that combined with the modern art is what makes it exciting and young and dynamic.
And then,
oops,
I went too far.
Okay, and that's the screen porch that was added onto the house. They really didn't have a good indoor-outdoor room. And this wraps the whole back facade of the house and gives you a great view of the bay. And it was pouring rain when we shot that.
I wish I could spend the whole summer right there.
Me too.
How does your approach differ from location to location, even though you're working with the same clients?
Well, I think first for us is always talking to the client and finding out what they like and what they want. But we never sacrifice comfort for anything. That's the most important thing that we do. So comfort is important, and listening to the client. And that's what we try to do. This is their New York apartment, which I think really epitomizes like sophisticated New York, but not the sort of boring all beige homes that you see in Manhattan. Especially in Manhattan, you need to kind of feel that you're coming into a universe that's very welcoming and complete. So here we use turquoise as the accent, which I think is fun.
I think it's so fun.
And that's her dining room. And this shows also how people's travels really affect what they include in their home. On the left, you see zodiac figures that she bought in Hong Kong, and we designed these bases for them, which is very complicated because when the light shines, without a good lighting designer, you get tremendous shadows on the wall.
Oh my goodness.
So that was a big thing.
I can imagine.
And
It
this
might be
is
kind of fun too.
Yeah, except they shadow over the face of the other, of another month or year, or whatever. Anyway, so this is her bedroom, which is really fun. It's our first lacquered lilac ceiling. But we wrapped the room, instead of fabric, we wrapped it in a de Gournay wallpaper, which is interesting because it has silver and gold accents on the paper, so it shimmers as you walk through it. Anyway, that's 3 of the 7 we've done for them.
And do they have, obviously New York City, Marion, Massachusetts, and Palm Beach are, you live a different lifestyle in probably all 3 of those locations. Yeah. But did they have different goals, or was there more sort of a common thread for how they wanted to live in these different places?
Well, they love color, obviously.
Yeah, that's great.
And so do I. And they had slightly different goals in each project. And I think that's the important thing, is listening to the people's goals and trying to accomplish them, because it's not my house, it's their house. So, anyway.
I was so touched when you told me the anecdote about the book that you all put together, and how special that must be for them all to be able to share that.
That was a first.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, Tom, let's move on to you. And the next few slides that we're going to look at are from Tom's portfolio, all different houses, but all for the same client, same family.
Yeah. All these buildings are for the same client, and not to one-up you, Ellie, but we've done 45 projects for this family.
That is really,
oh my goodness.
That is really one-upping me.
They were my first client in 1989 when I started the business.
Wow.
And I keep thinking they've got to give out at some point. And we're starting another one for them in Palm Beach.
Does this include multiple generations?
It's 2 generations,
okay.
But it's parents, siblings, and then some cousins.
Okay.
So, but it's one family.
It's one family.
So it's the gift that fortunately keeps giving.
Keeps giving. And do they visit each other's homes?
Yeah, they get along.
They get along.
For the
That's
most
good to
part.
know. That's good to know, despite their relationship with their architect.
And what's great about that is there's certain things with any relationship, whether it's a builder or an interior designer, you can speak to each other almost in code. And so I know them so well that, and there's a great amount of trust that they just sort of send us the thing or call and say, hey, can you come up to Martha's Vineyard or whatever it is, and you kind of know the lay of the land. But each, as Ellie says, each house is different. They're different people and pretty wildly different locations. This family we've done work for in everywhere from London to New York to Seattle to LA to Palm Beach, Aspen.
I need a family like that. Just saying.
Yeah. So,
Ellie's like, who's their decorator? Anyway.
Well, the wife is a decorator.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm talking too much. But
where were we when we...
So the first slide is Bedford, New York. That's a house. 9/11 happened, and a week later they said, we're moving out of the city. We bought this property, and we renovated this 1920s house in about 6 months, and it was, everything you see there is essentially new, from the roof to the electricity and everything.
It looks like it's been there 100 years.
Yeah, well,
in a good way.
It has, but we just kind of gave it it's my grandmother in a new dress.
Exactly.
And so that's Bedford, New York. It's right next to Martha Stewart and Ralph Lauren. It's a very fancy store.
Oh, they're tucked right in.
Yeah. This is a pool house for them up on Martha's Vineyard, which is a completely different look. So it's a kind of a riff on the shape of an old shingle-style house. It's basically a simple building, but it's all teak louvers with a steel and glass cage in the middle, looking out over the water. The water's behind us.
So I think, even just jumping from the first slide to the second and now to the third, you get a sense that it's not like this particular client has like one look or one aesthetic sensibility to them.
Right.
How are you navigating that with them? Is it more derived from sense of place?
It has a lot to do. So one of the things I think we're good at is I think we're channelers. So you channel not just what the client wants and what you know, but also the site, the architectural history or the cultural history of an area. So this is a house also on Martha's Vineyard for a brother, and they wanted sort of a slightly modern riff on the shingle style, not quite as modern as that glass box, but this house overlooks the water also on the north side of the island, and it's deceptive. It's about almost 20,000 square feet, a lot of which it's buried into the hill, so we're seeing the downhill side. The uphill side is kind of much more modest.
Yeah, I love that.
Another house for them on the vineyard, separate place. This is a little 1917 shack, and it's in a zone where you can't build today because it's right on the edge of a cliff, and they didn't want anybody to know they were working on it. So Labor Day comes around, they take the little house, they lift it 10 feet in the air, we put a foundation on it, we they photographed every rock and numbered them, we put the rocks back where they were. We put all new windows in. Everything you see there is new, and before Memorial Day, it was put back down.
Oh my gosh.
And no one knew that anything had happened, but it's a completely new building.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It seems to me that obviously...
Someone just said Love Shack. It is the perfect Love Shack. I thought I heard that. And this is, again, same family. This is in Palm Beach. This is their pool house and pool. Again, kind of interesting situation. Every tree you see there, this was a dusty, flat field with rusted chain link. And we did this pool and pool house and renovating the guest house behind between June 15th and August 15th.
Oh my goodness.
And every tree, I think they brought in something like 2,500 trees, 60,000 shrubs. and like 400,000 flower. It was just like
Oh, my
complete
word.
transformation. They left for vacation, and when they drove back in, it's as though no one had ever been there. And meanwhile, there's a whole new world. So it was a very stressful summer.
I can imagine.
I'm actually only 30. I'm 33, but I look like I'm. It all happened that summer. And then,
sorry, I went too fast.
Okay, and this is in Seattle.
That looks sort of Pacific Northwest to me.
Well, again, they wanted something with the region, so we knew what they wanted functionally because we knew them.
Yeah.
But it's in a world of sort of smoky weather. If you've ever been to Seattle, this was an oddly sunny day. So we did it in these sort of smoky colors of black and steel and shishugaban, whatever it's called, where we burned the wood and we fumed the oak, and it's modern. It looks out over the city of Seattle.
Beautiful. I'm curious how, obviously, to me, there's something about sort of designing in response to the vernacular and the local culture, too, that helps a house live better among its neighbors and neighborhood. But how do you think it influences how the homeowners themselves kind of appreciate their home?
I think they're aware of that. I mean, everybody wants to be, most people want to be a good neighbor, so they're very aware of that. That house in particular, you can't see from anywhere. It borders, it's sort of, you have to go through, there's a right of way through a public park, and so you can't really see it or get to it.
Incredible.
But they are aware of that, and like the houses on the vineyard look like houses on the vineyard.
On the vineyard,
and all
exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and this is also on the vineyard. We've done, what we don't see here is Aspen and London. There's a lot of other places, but this is a house the story is this is a house we had designed for them, and we tore it down and we built a new house on the foundation. So this is a reinterpretation of the same site, the same foundations, and they went from a kind of that shingle style house where I said up built into the hill. This is the same house but different house.
Wow.
And they wanted something a little bit more feeling like almost like a barn or farming vernacular. And it is a house that is a music building, so it has recording studios and concert spaces and stuff like that.
That's really cool. You Tom, I think something you're really well known for.
Wait, there's 40 more.
Oh, I know.
Oh, just kidding.
I'm going to keep going. But we're going to talk about this a little bit with your own house. But and you've brought this up in reference to a couple of the buildings. But tell me a little bit about your thought process when it comes to materials, because I think you're very thoughtful about, not just choosing the materials, but how you treat the materials, like the shugiban, the burned. How does that help a house sort of connect with its surroundings more?
This is another one. This is in Greenwich, Connecticut. This is a barn, a house masquerading as a barn. This is on a bigger property. And that dog is still alive. It's still, important. Because I was just in Palm Beach, the other house, and the dog was still there. Materials, I think you want to pick materials that are appropriate. So we're doing a new project in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's an adobe. I think a shingle-style house would look odd out in the hills outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. For sure. So there's a part of the materials is just relating to where the building is, and part of it is it's all about kind of emotion and what do these materials evoke. Yeah. And we could talk about that more, I guess, in my house. But people. We all look at houses and we all have a good visual sense, but I think the thing about materiality is it brings in the other senses. For example, the scent of cedar, or if you go to New Mexico, buildings have a different smell out there. It's plaster and ponderosa pine, and they just have it. So if you close your eyes, you don't know where you are, you can relate to them emotionally, and smell is this incredibly archaic sense where I'm sure you'll have had, you smell perfume and go, God, that's the perfume my mother wore. And you're like, in Los Angeles.
Decades.
She never went to Los Angeles.
Thousands of miles.
So I think that's one of the things. And I also think it's important because a wood house sounds different than a plaster house, and they feel different. So I think there's an emotional side to materials besides the historical connection, something that I think is really important and I think sort of overlooked or not thought about.
Yeah.
What does it sound like when you can remember your sister coming up the stairs sounded different from your father coming up the stairs?
Totally.
Which usually meant you were in trouble.
Right.
So you have these emotional connections that I think are important.
Yeah, I love that. And that emotional connection is really what somebody thinks of when they think of what does home mean to me.
Even if they don't know they know it.
Right.
They know it.
And
so one of our jobs is to kind of ferret that out and understand those connections.
I love that.
Oh, it's another.
But wait,
Oh, there are more.
Okay, I'm going to eat my heart out. This is really...
This is a house on the Sound in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's they love Cistercian monasteries in France, but they also love New England houses. So it's a Cistercian salt box.
So cool.
And you walk across that pond on those 20-foot long slabs of bluestone, and it gets icy in the winter there, and somehow no one has fallen in. But the goldfish were all eaten by ospreys, and so has a sad story too.
I love it. Well, circle of life.
Okay, finally, our project.
Yes. So for the next section, this is sort of the case study portion of our talk, where we're gonna look at really two buildings, but kind of one client that the two of you share. And actually, before we dive into the photographs of this project, Ellie, will you tell us how these clients became clients of yours?
Okay, this has a very funny origin story. Heimlich maneuver.
Which is quite a feat, really.
And her stake went 6 feet in the air. Anyway, her mother wanted to help me out by saying she had a wonderful young couple in Boston that was looking for a decorator, and she'd like to introduce us. So this became a long-term relationship with me and this couple who have now done the two projects in Boston, these two houses in the Hamptons, and 2 apartments in New York. So you never know what things, people always ask us how we get projects. Well, this is how we got this project and others. And then you become friends when you work with somebody. There's no way to say anything other than that. And when they bought the property, they decided that it was really easy to hire a local architect because they thought that he would have the best relationship with the Architectural Review Board, which is very tough in the Hamptons. And we had a first meeting with him, and myself and one of my partners looked at the drawings, and we were like askance. It was a developer's house. They're paying for a couture house, and they're getting a developer's house. So one night...
Were they building new?
Brand new, on the ocean in the Hamptons. You can imagine how expensive even the lot was. So one night we were shopping with them in London for another project, and after like many bottles of sake, I finally had enough courage to say, I don't think that house is good enough for you. But I have an architect that I think would be perfect, because they wanted their house in Boston was very traditional, all English antiques, all red and yellow and green. I said, but I think I have a really good architect for you. And that's how I introduced them to Tom. And since then, it's been a great relationship.
Love is all I can say.
Two houses. And also, they've just bought a 3rd lot in the Hamptons, and there's a possibility for another building. Because,
that's great.
Of course, this is...
all contiguous, though.
Yes, that's
So it's kind of like a family compound.
Family compound, which is really fantastic.
Is this the first?
This is the first house, and Tom, you should take it away.
Oh. So oddly, they wanted a shingle-style house. We've done a few, and
but this is part of your being a good neighbor.
No, that's right. That's right. This house is in a town where a lot of the traditional shingle-style houses, are what's important.
Yes.
And every couple has their idiosyncrasies in a way, or requests. In this case, we wanted to be a good neighbor, but the owner really liked more modern stuff, and so the outside is pretty traditional with those steam bent shingles and the stonework and the chimneys and everything and the shapes. But the inside, I think there's slides in here, is much more modern, where they could display, and Ellie knows more about the collections and stuff than I do, but it is a much more modern approach where the ceiling you can see is that sort of glossy wood. The moldings are bronze, not traditional wood painted moldings. The stair is all timber with that railing, which
it's called a meander.
The meander, the modern. It's
Tom taught me that.
Modern meander.
Yeah.
Is the meander the style of railing?
The meanders, you see, it's a Greek thing where it goes like this, and it's named for a Greek river, actually, but it does. So that's an interpretation.
That is so cool.
But Ellie picked all this incredible French furniture, and the first time I'd seen one of those light fixtures with the dandelions in it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's in the dining room shot. It's crazy, but that's made out of real dandelions that have been frozen.
Wow.
And then they put the fiber optic lights behind it. What I think is so great about what Tom did here is he created a vocabulary for the house that then helped us in the second house to create the same vocabulary, so you knew it was one property. And of course, this kind of very wide gray, beige interior is very good when you're on the beach and you want the beach to be the main event. But they punctuated this with very exciting modern art.
Yeah, she said, I want a house where I can come with sand on my feet. And this is not exactly what I was
That's not what I'm picturing.
But,
No, but she's a fancy lady.
She's what?
She's a fancy lady.
This is a pretty fancy house.
Which is what gave birth to the second house.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's actually a nice segue into how the second house came along.
So when she did this house, the kids were all like late teens, or and then they got older, and this is the kitchen, which I really love.
Is this still the first house?
This is still the first house, yeah.
I love
this kitchen. What's hard to see in these photographs is how the subtlety of, you mentioned materials, that's not white paint, that's actually white glass in the doors. I mean, there's a lot of layers of richness in this building.
And the light
Stainless
fixtures.
steel island.
I love that.
The light fixtures came from a Swedish theater. So like every
how cool.
element is thought so carefully and all the detailing. But anyway, as time went on, the kids got older, and there's the second house, and they were able to buy the next contiguous property. Beyond. So that would be, the old house is on the right and the new house is on the left.
They bought the property from Billy Joel.
Oh, by heaven.
Who still has the house at the time over here, and every now and then when this construction was going on, he'd come out on his balcony and go, can you guys hurry up?
I love it. So the second house, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so this is all out of order too. This is upstairs and this is the bar.
This is the kitchen.
And the kitchen.
Because this is an upside down floor plan.
Yeah, so you have to explain why.
Yes.
Well, the thing about this is the kids' house, the guest house. It's an upside down. It's really like a sail loft or a boat loft on the second floor. It has this sort of cloud-like ceiling, views out to the water beyond, and there are 4-bedroom suites below. It's only about 3,000 square feet, but it packs a lot of stuff. Originally, I don't know if Ellie mentioned this, the first house was supposed to be an upside-down house. And
that's right.
Because there's a big dune between you and the ocean, and the only way to see the ocean is from upstairs. And ultimately, the first house, they realized, we really want to take an elevator every time we bring the groceries in. Not that they touch the groceries, but...
Not that they eat either.
Yeah.
So in the case of the kids who are younger and more spry, this house ended up being an upside down, and so you can see how you look over the dune at the water. And so that's sort of the story of how they evolved.
And do the parents, are they envious of these living room views, or do they just enjoy it from their bedroom? And
they told you?
Yeah, they go into both houses all the time, and sometimes Jody says to me, I really love the kids' house. So now they bought a third property, so we'll see what happens with that.
Is that for grandchildren?
They have 4 grandchildren now.
But the other reason for this house was the dog.
The dog.
Oh, that's right.
She didn't want the dog because the dog had sand on its feet.
Right.
Sand on his feet and like long hair that went all over the place.
Yeah.
So this just
the houses
didn't
are
work for
very
her.
clean.
Yeah.
They're immaculate. I mean, if you walked in today, after a weekend, it would still look like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was a great joy.
This was photographed the day after a rager, and look how perfect it is.
It's perfection. Knowing the story about the upside down floor plan, that that the first house had started that way but didn't end up that way, but the second house did, it prompted this question, which I didn't have a chance to ask you guys ahead of time. But how do you ever deal with clients sort of thinking they're going to live one way, but that's maybe their ideal life, but their actual life is different, and you have to sort of, how do you coach them into...
All the time. Well, I think because I'm of a certain age, I can explain what it's like to live in a house with young children that grow up and bring friends home from school, children that go to college and come home with friends, children that finally get married, and children who have children. And I think it's so important to talk through all the permutations of life with people, because that's what will make the house grow and live with you. It's terrible when a house is designed for like a single moment in time. And that's the outside. Of the second house.
Yeah,
the second
house. You can see that big loft upstairs.
I love that photo, which we should have put before this photo. But anyway.
Anyway.
We're looking at it
next time.
Yes. Tom, what about you? How do you sort of coach a client through ideal versus real?
Well, we try to. I think a lot of people, you can see in many of these houses, in a way, money's always an issue, but money's no object, really. Right. And they tend to want to build a space for every single activity. So they want a media room and a sunroom and a sitting room
And a music room
and all that stuff. And the reality is people use rooms in a much more, they use one room for a lot more functions.
Right.
And so I try and get them to build less.
Yeah.
But we always end up building out to pretty much to the code max. And then what inevitably happens is they don't use the room. Sometimes they say you were right, rarely.
Yeah.
But I think, and we do talk about kids and how the buildings transform. We did a house in the Hamptons a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago now. We were just called back to baby-proof it because now they have grandchildren. So we're putting in all these cool baby gates that you can't see and all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
But so they change. But I think people want a new room, and they also want big rooms. And then you get over there, they're all sitting in the little room. They go, look, we're sitting in this tiny room. Well, it's because it's comfortable.
It feels
the big rooms aren't as comfortable. Like,
yeah.
I tried to tell you that. But
yeah.
so you do what you can, and it's interesting. A lot of these people they're all smart. They're all successful. They're not architects or interior designers, but they think they know the answer, and some of them are willing to listen, some of them are not, because they've been told they're right all the time.
Totally.
If you're a potential client out there, I still love you.
And you're definitely right.
But they forget that this is a different world, and sometimes it helps to listen.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. So now for frankly, the most exciting for me portion of this conversation is the chance to look at each of your own homes. When I say that, I mean each one of your...
We don't live together.
Right, exactly. That came out.
Although the waitress today thought we were a married couple because we both ordered English muffins, so they must be married.
I love an English muffin, but then again, we found out that we're probably cousins, so that's...
I think we are cousins.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Tom, starting with you, this is a house that you have recently built and completed. You and your wife are architects.
Right.
And this is in Rhode Island, and I wanted to actually start by asking you why Rhode Island, and then about this property and sort of what you guys did.
So this Rhode Island, because I grew up in Connecticut before we moved to New Mexico, and we lived in New Haven, Connecticut, and we would go to Weekapaug, Rhode Island, which is this little town on a point of land looking out over the ocean. And so I, as a kid, loved it, the sailing, the beach, all that kind of stuff. Then we moved to New Mexico, and it was like the biggest beach with no ocean. It was all this sand.
Sand everywhere, no water.
So when I got older, we sort of started and moved back to New York. We started renting up there. Started staying in a hotel, and we started renting. And I never imagined we'd have property there, but this piece came up for sale. I thought I'll never get it, and lo and behold, we did. And this house we built, we just completed in 2022.
Wow. What was it like to design, as an architect, to design and build a house for yourself? Was that challenging?
It's something I never wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah, I just, it's like a busman's holiday. You work all day and you come home and you go, oh, I get to work on wall sections.
Keep working.
So it was fine. My wife laid everything out. I decided she's right about everything. And she was. I mean, I wanted a bedroom upstairs. The bedroom was on the main level. And it's great. You kind of wake up in the morning, you kind of putter across the living room, you go to the kitchen. It's great. I never go upstairs. But in a way, it's like, I guess, having a custom-made suit or dress or something like that. It's kind of amazing when everything is there because you wanted it and the colors are what you wanted. Didn't have to ask a client or show options.
I love it.
I love it. Can I see some more options? No.
I'm done.
I think 15 is enough. And so it has in this living room, those are shingles around the frieze, little things like that little plaque you can't read says North, which is something of the Sir John Soanes Museum in London.
I knew it was a little Easter egg.
You have to visit, if you go to London, go to the Sir John Soanes Museum. It's incredible. And in all the rooms, he has North, East, Southwest. And so that's in there. So there's a little history, things like that. But this room has 5 woods from poplar to pine to cedar to mahogany, oak.
And let's talk about memory. You mentioned sort of that sensory aspect of materials, but there's a great quote in our article from you about how the role of memory here.
Well, the house is based on old houses in Weekapaug, which we rented, which had no insulation. So you walk in, you've all been in. It's a cabin where the wall you see is just the inside of the outside wall. There's no insulation. There's no sheetrock.
Yeah.
But today you have to insulate. You have to have insulation. You can't just build an old shack anymore. So the problem was, how do we bring that wood feeling in. So there is not a room in this house that isn't wood. And all the girls' bedrooms, this is wood but painted. Yep. All the girls' bedrooms, each is a different wood. So
that's so cool.
The oak room smells like oak. This is my youngest daughter. That's all Alaskan. That's Western red cedar, and it has a different scent from the other room. So I was trying to recreate my own memories of a wood house, but also I thought it'd be great if this is my daughter Magda. If she walks into a room in LA and it's in Western red cedar, and she goes, "Wait a minute, this feels like home."
I love that.
So that was the intent of the house. Was again not just what does it look like, but what does it smell like?
I love that.
I hate the word smell.
I know it's a
What is
bad
the aroma?
What is the aroma?
What is the scent? Yes.
How does
Scent
this
of a house.
engage
Great
the
movie.
olfactory?
So that's the idea here.
I want to go back to this just for a second because you mentioned color in the kitchen, and then
It's great.
I love the color of the kitchen that we were looking at when you said that, but this is now my new favorite kitchen color as well, and I just think this is so pretty.
Well, this is based on those great old kitchens in the 20s and 30s. You know, we had friends when I grew up in Albuquerque. They had a huge house with staff. His grandfather built the Empire State Building. They were very fancy, and they had this great catering kitchen, and that was the color.
I love it.
So
I feel like in Newport, is there a staff kitchen that maybe has this color or something? But anyway,
there will be.
There will be now, exactly. Another great.
That's Douglas fir in my oldest daughter's bedroom.
Love it. So beautiful.
And actually, this is the screen porch. The trim in the house is painted Seal Harbor green. Some people call it Charleston green. We're doing a project up in Mount Desert, and Seal Harbor's is here, and there's this Seal Harbor green. So we we didn't steal. We asked for the formula to recreate it, and it's almost black, but that's a dark green.
Beautiful. How cool in the summer to be in that color. Okay.
You can tell this isn't Tom's work.
And we are no longer,
this is the powder room in the house.
Yeah, exactly. We are no longer in Summer Cottage.
Yeah.
Ellie, this is your New York City apartment.
Which I've actually lived in for 40 years.
Incredible.
Redone it a few times.
I mean, what a feat to have stayed in one place for 40 years.
Well, I did redo it a few times. But anyway, what's exciting about this is we were lucky enough to buy an apartment in a building by Rosario Candela, who's considered the foremost architect of domestic architecture in New York. And I've just tweaked things a little, kept so much of his architectural detailing, but yet try to modernize it to some extent. For example, the large chandelier there, that's a Murano chandelier.
Beautiful.
And then putting on top of my Louis XVI commode, putting this Murano mirror on top of it. The idea is I love the alchemy between old and new. To me, that's very important, so that it makes a place feel more current without giving up antiques that I love. Another thing that helps a lot is contemporary art, which you'll see in some of the next sections. Should
I go back?
The red. So here's the Venetian, the Austrian chandelier.
Gorgeous.
But yet what's made this more contemporary or lighter in feeling is making all the upholstery white and the curtains white as a contrast to the antiques and the red Venetian stucco walls.
So beautiful.
Here's the dining room. This is
ceiling.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So the ceiling was glazed in a 3-step glaze, and kind of the overall color is gold. But what's exciting about it is how it reflects everything around it in the ceiling. I live on the 2nd and 3rd floor of this building, and I needed to augment the light, so I got a very large mirror for the room. And I don't think we have a close-up, but this that's my just thing. So what's interesting is that you can't see really, this dining room has 18th century Chinese wallpaper, which I actually convinced my husband to buy because I convinced him that I was saving him money.
Of course, yes.
Because he didn't have to buy art for any of the walls.
Right. The art is
the wallpaper. And sometimes that logic works with clients also. So
brilliant.
It's kind of the mix of the old and new. That's what I love more than anything.
I love that.
Because the old things have so much soul and presence and really are what keeps me comfortable and in love with my home, my collections. which more than half of them are in storage because I'm changing things out all the time, but not so much in this last incarnation.
Does changing things out sort of keep you rooted to the place a little bit more? And have you ever thought of leaving, but
well, no, because what happens is, and we're talking about that idea of the client that you go through all the stages of life with, this apartment had 4 bedrooms, and each of my children had their own bedroom. But since they all are old and have their own houses now, I was so delighted to take over their rooms. So my husband and I now each have our own study. So it's done in what's called a Swedish Gustavian style. And in the old days, Candela had closets that were only 4 feet wide. I mean, can you imagine?
Wow.
So this is my daughter's bedroom. She still comes in and laments that it's not her bedroom anymore. But
No.
I
Look at all that
love
natural
it.
light.
Yeah, the natural light is really good. Even though this is now the 3rd floor on Park Avenue, but because Park Avenue is so wide, you do get light, and it varies, most of the time.
It's beautiful.
So this is where Okay, now we're in a completely different aesthetic.
Totally different.
Which is my house in the country, which we inherited from my husband's grandparents. And the house was so dark, again, because there was no air conditioning back in the day. His grandparents had bought the house in 1920. That when we interviewed a then unknown architect to help us with the house, Bob Stern, where Tom started his career, Bob had a classic thing to say about the house. It was like the train station at Lake Placid with the train attached.
Oh my gosh.
Because his grandparents had 5 children, and every time they had a child, they had the caretaker add a bedroom.
Oh my gosh.
And it was literally so depressing. I should have brought some of the exteriors. It looked like a log cabin, but the logs were all fake. They were like putting wallpaper on the outside of the house.
Oh my heavens.
So Bob said, away.
Get rid of the log veneer.
Yeah, I'm very, very grateful to him because he's the one who taught me about architecture. Because at that point, he had an upper office on the Upper West Side with 4 people, and he had time to teach me everything, which was great.
Wonderful.
This room actually was added by John Murray a few years ago, and it has triple hung windows, and it's the room we live in because the ceiling's high, and it works for every season. The windows disappear into a parapet, and apparently these were invented by Thomas Jefferson. Hard to believe, but that's the truth.
Right. Yep.
And we have screens, and we have air conditioning and heating. So you could be in this room in every season and every time of the day, and that's where, that's really where we live. But we had the living room before, and there's the bedroom. But what's interesting is when I was young and we really didn't have any money, I fell in love with American folk art because it was so cheap at the time. It also there was a landmark exhibition at the Whitney called The Flowering of American Folk Art, and then a big book by Jean Lippman about the parallels, provocative parallels, and the idea that you can look at Americana as belonging in old historic homes with low ceilings and dark colors and masses of collections. But she was trying to show that it's actually a very 20th century pop art concept. And that's what attracted me to it. And it was so affordable. You could buy a great quilt for $100 then.
Oh my gosh.
I could do that.
I love that.
So this is kind of a mix of that. And I've never changed for that aesthetic. And I think it's fun to have a little discipline on whatever you're collecting. And so I've decided that Americana for this house, American art for the other house. And I just love how everybody talks to each other. The furniture is from all over the place. But
it's such a rich dialogue. Even when the furniture might be coming from Europe or other places, to be surrounded by American art, which I failed to mention in my introduction of you, that you are also quite the art connoisseur, but you can see it through this house. I love this, photo at the end too.
Because the photo at the end is talking to generations. The house on the left was my husband's mother's house, which we bought from the estate happily before the pandemic, because my side of the family grew so large that I couldn't house 50 people for Thanksgiving lunch anymore. So we took the barn on the right, and we did kind of what Tom was talking about with that other house. The barn had no foundation, so we had to lift it up in the air and then put in a foundation, put in all the modern conveniences. And I don't have a picture of the inside, but now I can easily fit 50 people in there for Thanksgiving lunch. We now have 4 new babies in the family, so I'm going to be 54 next year. I don't know.
Oh my
but
gosh.
we're going to fit. So I'm glad I did that. We did a movie projection thing there, talking to your idea of multi-purpose. You don't have to have a dedicated room for it. It's also nice to go visit the room more than just every now and then.
Right.
So
And use it in different ways because it
Use it in
makes
different ways, yeah.
more exciting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the story of my homes. But
I thank you both for sharing your own personal homes with us. I think that's just a rare opportunity that we don't often get from designers of your caliber. We'd love to take some questions from the audience, and if anybody is feeling shy, I have hot take questions for our panelists. So to spare them for my hot take questions, please ask your questions. I don't know what I've done with the slides, but oh well. Anybody?
I have a loft area where the now older grandchildren are able to go up and sleep and have a sleep away from their parents.
Oh, that's fun.
And then turn on the screen that comes down and watch a movie.
That's awesome.
Or 2 or 3, stay up all night.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
I was struck by the building where the clients were in like 4,000 trees, 60,000 shrubs, and so on. And so I'm curious, though not quite an architecture or design question, what are your thoughts on how you incorporate nature into that feeling of prosperity at home?
It's a great question.
Well, yeah, the landscape is really an extension of the house and vice versa. So we always try and make the window locations, the window sizes like that, those triple hung windows, which I love triple hung
Me
windows.
too.
And they work.
They work,
They do.
and you
Easily,
can slide up
which
and
is
walk
amazing.
out. They don't swing into they're great.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been to Monticello, you should go see they're beautiful. So we think of it as, I guess, first of all, we don't design the landscapes. We have a landscape architect, and that's who did that. But I think it's probably just like a house, that there are trees that were requested. That happens to be a native landscape, so everything there belonged in Florida. It replaced a lot of invasive stuff. And I guess that comes with all the other things we talked about the scent of a certain kind of tree in the spring versus the fall and all that kind of stuff. But like a house, it has different kinds of spaces. Some are big, some are small. Some have big trees, some have small things. So I think the thinking in a lot of ways is very similar to laying out a floor plan of a house and thinking about the materials of a house.
Well, let me just add to that I think it's so important in any project that you get a team together. So it's the architect is usually first, the decorator, the landscape architect, and then if we're lucky enough to have a lighting designer, because a house can be ruined by not having good light.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. One side of the coin has to talk to the other side.
No, it's true. I think the landscape architect was on board from the start, and the pool location. That was in the first 10 minutes that was decided, and then it was very hand in hand to getting it done.
This has been a learning lesson for me personally and professionally, but about a year ago I interviewed a designer for a panel, and he told me that he likes to have the landscape architect on board first.
Well, that makes sense.
And he won't do the interior scheme until he knows more or less what he's going to be looking at outside, and that was sort of mind-blowing, but also it makes perfect sense.
Well, it makes sense because in a property, you have to site the house.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just starting a house, an Adirondack Lodge, and the clients hired a landscape architect and an architect to do all that stuff. And so by the time we were brought in, it's terrible, they fired the other architect, and then they fired the other landscape
Tom,
architect.
this happens a
I
lot.
wasn't responsible.
No, this doesn't happen. This isn't every project, but that was a case where the landscape architect was there first. I love that one. First of all, if it's a postage size, the house can only go here. But if you have 50 acres, 10 acres,
Or more.
question or more.
Yeah.
So this was great because it came with a landscape plan. We didn't have to spend all that time. It was done.
That's amazing. Yeah. Another question? Here's one.
This message is for Tom. In your own house, in the kitchen, could you share that paint color?
I will get it. It's a Pharaoh ball. and the floors are cork. Just so,
That's so cool.
yeah, which is great, and the countertops are white oak and stuff like that. But I can get it for you.
Yeah, it was.
And it may be in the veranda.
Yeah, I think it is, or maybe the white is.
The white is listed in veranda. But
I can get the green.
It's
Too.
not hard green, is it?
No, I don't
breakfast
think
room
so.
green?
I don't remember. I can't remember.
Stay tuned. Veranda will help track this down for you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I think they're asleep.
No, they're not asleep. Okay, I've got a couple of quick hot takes, and then we'll go upstairs for the reception. Okay, so first, open floor plan. Is this good for prosperity at home or an overrated trend?
Just at home?
Yes.
How about a mix?
That's fair.
Yeah. I also think it depends on the situation. I mean, a house in Colorado, for example, vacation houses are often better improved by an open floor plan. But in general, for a traditional home, doors are so important.
We love a
Privacy.
door. We love
I love
a
a
wall.
door.
We love a
love
wall.
a wall. I love a wall.
Okay. Minimalism versus maximalism. Which supports a happier life?
I would say edited maximalism.
There you go.
There's nothing worse than something that's so minimal. It doesn't show the personality of the people or things they're interested or, I don't know. It's too anal for me.
I love it. Tom.
Maximalism. Go to the Sir John Soane's Museum in London. That is just an
But would you want to live there? I love the
Totally.
museum. I couldn't.
And you can come visit.
And I've visited many times.
We'll
Another
empty your
idea
bedroom
that-
out.
It is, I second that. It is the most, I've been now 5 times and I see something new and see it a different way every single time.
Yeah, I was on the American Foundation board for 24 years, so I've been in that museum many, many times. And every time there's something new. It's incredible.
Okay. Oh, last hot take question. Does a smart home equal a dumb life? Or does a dumb home equal a smart life?
I go with the dumb home.
Those might be the same thing. Dumb home, smart life.
Definitely.
You heard it here first.
How many people can't turn their TVs on anymore?
Well, that's, you can't turn the TV on anymore.
No, I was so
literally
happy.
get
I did it at the
kids,
hotel. I
I
was
just
so
hand them
proud.
the clicker and say, start it, please start it.
Get this going
And
for
the
me.
rest of the time I watch everything on my iPhone.
And then my grandkids do it,
Yeah.
which is really embarrassing, and they're young. Anyway,
I go to visit my mom, and we can't turn her TV on. We have to get her to do it. My children are asking their grandmother, how do we do the TV? Anyway, okay. Well, thank you all so much. Thanks to Paul Montgomery and Scalamandre as well for hosting us for a reception. Please do join us there, because we are all 3 signing books, and we'd love to see you. Thank you, guys.
thank you, Steele. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.